Hey guys, welcome back to Football Ninja. I'm your host Amit. Joining me today is Karthik. Karthik, what an amazing week of football. A lot of things to talk about. Let's start with Man United. Uh, Ole out?
Maybe, probably, if he doesn't do well against Everton, which is going to be a difficult game. Although they haven't been in the best of forms for the past two games, but then I think it's going to be a little difficult, especially away from home. It's going to be slightly. I don't know, and we, and I'm saying that because we also saw Pochettino putting
Yeah.
himself out there, that he's available, and apparently sources close to United are saying that Pochettino might replace him. So is it gonna be a swap of Mourinho and Pochettino? Probably. Let's see. What do you think?
But do you think it's a valid argument though, of Ole sacking Ole right now?
The only problem with Ole right now, I think, is his consistency. They play really well. Like you saw against RB Leipzig, right? They played amazingly well. Arsenal, they slacked a bit, and they were total disaster against Istanbul. We think, everybody thinks that they are back. If you listen to the commentators, they'll keep saying, "Oh, they're back." I think they think Manu is back, but then it's the same story over and over again. They play one game good, they're gonna slack for the next few games, and this hashtag of Ole out has been going on for since the beginning of the year.
In that terms, when you see this is the cycle which always is followed. So at the moment Ole out trends is when United would win an amazing game,
Yeah.
and then that will silence the critic, and then again a series of bad performance, and then again some disastrous game like against Spurs that happened, and Arsenal winning after 14 years in Old Trafford, and now probably this game he would win. looking
Probably,
looking-
like at the trend,
Yeah.
they should probably win this one.
and then he would again silence his critic just entering into the international breaks.
Yeah, but I think it's time now for probably we know he started really well. His campaign when he became the manager. After the lockdown ended, they had a very good period. They sort of finished third. They were not expected to. Everybody thought Leicester would probably do that, but then they finished third. And now again, since the beginning, they haven't been really performing well. I think for me, the best player is Marcus Rashford. De Gea has been performing good as well, but Marcus Rashford on and off the field, right? He's been probably the best Man United has right now. Bruno Fernandes as well. His form has dipped a bit, in my opinion, from what we saw after the lockdown. But then, yeah, it is gonna be difficult. I think they need a change. At least, like you were saying the other day, the negativity that was there when Mourinho was around has gone down, definitely. But I don't think Ole right now is the right manager for Man United. They need someone more experienced. But let's see if that happens.
Like in terms of argument's sake, right? When you consider yourself one of the best clubs in the world, and let's stick to Premier League now. Then you ask this question to yourself: that is this the best manager in Premier League? And you know the answer is no. You can't say he's better than Klopp. You can't say he's better than Pep Guardiola. And then what? Like that's why I think a lot of players, a lot of pundits are criticizing Ole for his strategy, where just on the stat basis, right? When you see the first 100 games of Mourinho and then you see first 100 games of Ole, and there's a huge difference there as well. I think Mourinho has almost 65% win percentage, with Ole being 55. I know stat doesn't really matter in a real time game, but then do you think that Ole out or Ole being sacked would help Man United, or the cycle of again new manager coming in and giving them 2 years space and then again sacking them will continue?
Like I think Gary Neville put it best. If this is how Man United is gonna play, it's gonna be at least 15-20 years before they win another Premier League, right? Because it's not just you have to be real. It's not just the manager. It's also the players that are there right now. If you see Pogba, for example, people say he's the best United player, right? Paul Pogba. And if you see, he doesn't feel like that he's giving his best. There is something. I mean, it always feels like when I see him, he has the quality. He's a really good player, no doubt about that. But when you see him play, you always think that there's something else going on in his mind.
Yeah.
Or his mind is not there at United anymore.
I still feel that he's still recovering from COVID. Like when you see him play, yeah, he has recovered from COVID long back, but then he still feels he's injured, but he's not.
Yeah.
And probably when he has the ball, he's, I think, probably the only Man United player right now in the midfield who you can trust with the ball, hold the ball and give a pass. You can't say the same about Matic. You can't say the same about Fred. Absolutely not about Fred. but your best midfielder in terms of like on paper at least, still not giving you. I think Pogba is number 2 at most fouls done in Premier League right now, and that shows, right, that lack of confidence to enter into a tackle, and Ole also is not consistently playing with him. The kind of strategy that was used in Champions League game was horrendous. Oh my god, that was difficult to watch that game as a Man United fan. And I feel, if on an argument sake, if Man United or they sack him, I don't think so. It will be a bad decision right now. That's my personal opinion.
But what do you think about? So we already spoke about Pogba. The front three. We know Van de Beek probably was somebody that you really did not need at this point. But I mean, yeah, for sure he's there. But what about the defense? I think the only player I can think of when I when I think about that, the defense that you had, Ferdinand, Vidic, of that quality, probably right now the only one I can think of is Van Bissaka. He's the only one who's performing well or defending well, at least. But what about Maguire? Do you think all those things happened in Greece, and then his red card? Do you think those things kind of affected him?
I would take it a little like before that. I would say that he is not an $80 million player. Let me put that. He was very expensive when we bought him. But there are times when he has good games, like something very similar with Lindelof as well. Like you don't know which Lindelof, you don't know which Maguire will turn up on the pitch that day, because that consistency you really can't see. Luke Shaw is doing good, but his growth has been a very slow growth when you see.
And he's also been injured a lot.
Yeah. And that has probably taken a lot from his where he should have been by now. But specifically talking about Maguire and Lindelof, we tried Bailey there. He gets injured a lot. Now we tried Tuanzebe there in PSG. He played really well, the pace that he has. But then again, I don't know why manager is not happy to consistently open with him. I feel we have to really invest our time and money into getting players who we can trust, at least in front of goal. So we know De Gea is there, and De Gea is performing well because he knows there is a backup waiting for him.
Yeah.
So unless we put pressure on these players, they are not going to perform. That's what I feel.
But do you also think that there is a sort of a change in formation that is required? Probably a 3-4-3 or a 3-3-1.
I was really scared when Ole started playing the diamond in the middle. I was really scared, but somehow it worked really well in terms of PSG game, and then also in the RB Leipzig game. But if you see there as well, specifically RB Leipzig game, we were 1-0 down for a long time. Sorry, 1-0 up for a long time until Rashford came in, and that's when things started changing for us. But I don't see that aggression consistently in the. So if I'm totally okay with not having the position in the game, I'm totally okay to have 40% position on the game, unless we are winning the game, right?
Exactly.
And if you don't do that, if you are not attacking as much with having that less position, then you're giving more chances to the opposition to score the goal. As simple as that, right? And what Arsenal did to Man U was basically tasting their own medicine, right? Getting a penalty, scoring a goal, defending that penalty, and winning the game. That's what it's been there for Man U from at least 6-7 months.
Yeah, and even if you see the game, I didn't think United was at their best. They had a few chances, yes, definitely, but then
I think the closest chance that we had in the second half was, I think, Van de Beek. trying something which was deflected again, and that was the closest thing that we had. Which like though the quality is there on the paper, but then until unless that performance, is realized on the pitch, it doesn't really work out that way. That's what I feel. So I feel that strategy wise, there's a lot of things that are being lacking right now. But you can go back to the records that Ole has broken about the most away wins, the most wins in like continuous wins. Those are there, but then those won't get us trophies.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And what will give us trophy is a consistent building of a team, which happened in Liverpool, which you see is happening in Arsenal right now, which you see is happening probably. I'm not sure about Chelsea though. It's just too early to say, but looks like they're going that way, and you see that again happening in Everton. So I'm not able to see that. Right?
So you're saying there is no direction.
Correct.
That is there right
There's
now.
There's no set strategy. So especially if you remember the game last season, FA Cup against Chelsea, we randomly came up with that formation, which I don't know why did we come up with that 3-5-3. I think
3-4-3.
Yeah, 3-4-3, and we lost that game, and it was not just it was not like a there was no competition in that game left because of the formation. Because if the players have not played in that formation, and one fine day we come up and play in that formation, so I don't know if the players are not competent enough to in new formation they play or something. I don't know, but I feel that as a manager, it's difficult for Ole to come up with such tactics. How a good a manager who has managed big clubs, Pochettino coming in, he has managed Spurs, and then Spurs, he has groomed these players who are world class right now. And I think you see those prospects in United right now, where there is Greenwood, there's Tuanzebe, there's Rashford is still young, though he has a lot of games, and you see that kind of talent can be nurtured here. I don't know who else is there in line, if not Pochettino, somebody else. But if Ole goes out now, I don't think so it'll be bad for Man United. That toxic environment which Mourinho left is quite, and the players that have come in now are actually good. So if Van der Beek is utilized properly, if Fred, the problem with Fred is he's sometimes good, sometimes really bad. So when he's good, he can do something like RB Leipzig. And he's bad. You saw the game against Arsenal where he just lost. He was not interested in few balls. He was confused in some. So I don't know where he goes, but then let's see what happens. I'm just hoping.
I have a last question for you. So we saw Dani Alves talking about Barcelona becoming more of a business now, right? Rather than being a football club, which is the primary thing that they are. Do you think something similar is also happening with United right now, becoming more like a business?
So that was happening since 2005. If your team is coming in noodle packs in 2005, so that
and
was,
credit cards.
Yeah, so that was happening since then. And see, I don't have a problem with that. Club is getting money. I just want that money to be utilized in the right place. So if club is getting more money, I think that's not a problem for any fan.
Right. But if the owners are taking it out of
if they're not investing it back where they're supposed to invest, then the quality of club will go down. So it just leaves a Man United fan or a fan. It makes it so difficult to still remain a fan, right? Or I don't want to be an Arsenal fan, right? Or I don't want to feel like one at least. So, but unfortunately, that's happening right now. Or no dissing on Arsenal. I'm just saying in terms of this drought of no trophies, and which I don't think so under Solskjaer right now we have any scope of winning that. I was really positive about Champions League though before this game happened. I was really, because there's still 5 substitutions there, and we actually have okay bench strength. We don't have great like City or Liverpool, but we have an okay bench strength where they can come replace the game and change the entire game in terms of pace and creativity. But the loss against in Istanbul, it's just difficult. I think it'll be a very crucial game for Ole to win, and if he loses, it'll be a difficult game. What do you think? Your prediction for this game?
looking at, I think Everton have been unbeaten in the last 3 games against United. They've won one and drawn two. I think right now I would go for a 1-1 draw. Probably, probably.
I think 1-1 draw would be a good point for Man U right now. 15th position right now in Premier League. Everton. Everton losing that 2-1 game against Newcastle. Callum Wilson again getting that penalty and then scoring one more goal. But let's talk about Calvert-Lewin, Karthik. At the end, scoring a goal for Everton, and now I think still maintaining number 1 position by 8 goals. Has he impressed you yet?
I mean, of course he has. And even if I look at last year, he's always been that player who will be in those kind of positions. I think the only thing he was lacking was the delivery.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and which he is getting now with the kind of players that Ancelotti have brought in, or that are playing. So he's always been that player with that striker's instinct. And I think he's also been used a lot. Sometimes on the wing, sometimes. Yeah, but I think Ancelotti is making good use of his what his position should be. Richarlison plays well on the wings, so he's there where he should be, and not just playing on a striker's position, number 10 or whatever. So he's playing in that position. So I think it's kind of it's sort of coming together, and it's working well for Calvert-Lewin, I think. And when you start getting goals, you also get the confidence. He also got the goal for England on his debut. So I think he is definitely impressed. Like I said, I was already impressed with him, but now he's just being what he's supposed to be.
I think it'll be a difficult game for Man United though, going away to Everton right now, and I think they have lost 2 games right now. Everton, I think they want to now bounce back. I think Man United is the best kind of team that you would want to play right now.
I mean, if the best Man United turns up, then
it becomes that game now. Now moving on to another biggest game probably of this season, City versus Liverpool. In different circumstances, this would have been number 1, number 2 fight, but not right now.
It's a number 2, number 11. Right now. I think City are number 11.
Number 11, number 10, number 11. I'm not sure, but City again, winning 1-0 against Sheffield United, and Liverpool 2 winning that 2-1 against West Ham. Those were difficult games to win. A Champions League, a champion side would make these difficult games into victories, which they have done. A difficult game for which side do you think it is?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know, because last few couple City performances I've seen, they haven't been up to the mark. And Liverpool have been, but they are missing. They're missing Virgil van Dijk. They're also gonna miss Thiago. He's not gonna be in the squad. So I mean, it's a tough one, to be honest. But I think City. I'll go with City for this one, because I think they're. I'll just go for a 2-2 draw. I cannot choose right now. See, the problem is, even though Liverpool is struggling. I mean, I wouldn't say struggling. They're not the best right now in terms of defense.
What we have seen.
From what we have seen, right? Probably Fabinho would be back for this game. Last game, Gomez making a mistake that led to a goal. So
I think that's when they're missing Van Dijk. Right?
Exactly. That strong presence. But I think Fabinho sort of brings that a little bit. That confidence. But then the thing is, their attack is too strong, especially with Jota.
What a fight that is for them now.
I think Liverpool for the past, or I should say Klopp, for the past couple of years, they've had good scouts. They have gotten really good players. You saw Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, Jota, Mane, Salah. You see the kind of players, they're all world class right now. And I think
in Shaqiri also there.
Shaqiri as well, and he's playing well now. Especially that Shaqiri and Jota combination that's been working well.
That pass that Shaqiri gave.
Even in the Champions League game that they played, Jota scoring a hat-trick. I mean, they had a good link-up. So I think Shaqiri is going to play more probably in the coming games. But their attack is too strong to I mean, I cannot even say that they're not going to score goals. So I'm just going to go with a 2-2 because it's so hard for me to choose right now.
Moving on to the next game, Karthik. Arsenal versus Villa. Unfortunate for Villa. Not unfortunate though. I think unfortunate for Grealish. He scored that amazing goal in the last game, and it was a 4-3. But it was not as close as the scoreline says. They were like 4-2 down for a long period of the game, and then I think 97th minute is when he scored that beautiful fucking goal.
I have watched it like 10 times and I still can't.
I think I think we agree on the best goals are when the keeper doesn't move. So.
But talking about the same game for a minute, what about those 2 free kicks from James Ward-Prowse?
That player is amazing.
Identical free kicks, I would say, on his birthday. That's just
26th birthday.
Crazy.
And again, keeper didn't move.
Oh yeah.
Arsenal again high on confidence, winning 1-0 at Old Trafford and winning 4-1 to Molde. Molde, a Norwegian side, ex-Molde side. High on confidence against Aston Villa. Your prediction on this?
I think Aston Villa has been phenomenal this season. And if you ask me the difference, I'm gonna say it's Ross Barkley. No, but to be honest, he's done well. Especially, I mean, if I compare him what he was playing at Chelsea, he wasn't too bad.
But I think he was
underutilized, and then I think he did not fit into that team, to be honest. But I think he's doing well at Aston Villa. He's getting that confidence again, linking up really well with Grealish, and then Ollie Watkins as well. High on confidence right now. Scored a penalty again last season. We don't even need to talk about Jack Grealish. Again, he was sort of involved in all the 3 goals, got the penalties, assist, and scored the last goal. So. I think I'm just gonna go for an Arsenal upset this one because I believe in Aston Villa. So probably a 2-1 kind of a game. Probably Aston Villa winning it. What do you think? Are you gonna go with Arsenal?
No. No, but I think Villa is. I don't know what has happened. Just. They look a totally different side now.
I mean, if you just go back to a couple of podcasts back, we were saying that Aston Villa is gonna go down this season, right? And
they look a totally different side.
Right now, they might finish top 4.
Like 2020 has been the years of upset anyway. So looks a totally different side. As I was telling you, I don't know what has changed. I might not agree with you, but then Grealish being Grealish, he's just performing like just way good for his team right now, performing and being involved everywhere. I think consistency is there, and Grealish again, I think the most fouled player in Premier League.
Do you think he's still auditioning for a move next season?
I think he should, like in terms of if he wants to achieve trophies, I think he should. Not just in Premier League, I feel.
I wouldn't say not just trophies. I would also say if he wants to play in the national team.
Oh, true.
Yeah, he has to do that. And like for example, if you see a quick example, I just read in the morning that Reece James is involved he's been called up. He's banned for 2 games because he abused the referee at the end of the game last game. They're gonna play 3 international games, out of which 2 is gonna be banned for. But he's still called up because they say he's played well. Yes, he's an amazing player, no doubt on that. He's a good player, right? But he's also, he's banned for 2 games. So I sort of feel there's always that, the like they say the big boys, they always get the preference. I think Phil Foden got a call up again. After that screw up that they did. So anyway, coming back. I think he should move to probably, but he just signed a contract till 24, 25, I guess.
I think that would be only for making more money. I think it's a good deal for him. He's enjoying his game. That's what as a player you would want. And his team is winning, so they are not fighting the relegation battle. At least now, now they're fighting big boys. They're winning they won against Liverpool in handsomely ever as you can see. And then I think
And I think it's also important to start the season well, because that gives you the confidence. At least if you get a couple of draws with these big games and then try to win the other games, you would never know. You might finish in the top 10, which will be a really good finish for Arsenal.
And then that would again be a very good pitch for Grealish to for big clubs.
But do you think because of COVID he was unable to move because a lot of clubs were not spending? Or
I don't think so. That's true though, Karthik. I don't feel money is not a problem right now. You see what Chelsea has done. You see what Liverpool has done when it comes to Jota and all other players. They've invested money where they wanted. If they wanted the player, they have put money there. So you see what Man United has done with Van der Beek. So that valuation again.
Do you think Jack Grealish would have been a better signing instead of Van der Beek? Although he would have been a little more expensive for sure.
No, but he would have been definitely that player that we wanted. He comes in with Premier League experience. He would, I would feel that he would have been more utilized than Van der Beek definitely if he was in Man United right now.
I think if he was there, probably he would have connected well with Bruno. It would have given Bruno Fernandes more space and time. He could have been that playmaker who plays right behind the strikers, and then Bruno Fernandes.
Again, we're going back to Man United. And just to finish it here, I would say that I think now Ole is confused whether to start with Bruno and Van der Beek together. But if Grealish would have been there, he would have started with both of them without a doubt.
Exactly.
I think that answers your question. Moving to the next game, Karthik, Tottenham playing against West Brom. Tottenham, I think, are on a 6-7 game winning streak in Premier League. They are playing really well. Harry Kane, I think, in the Europa scored his 200 goal for the club in 300 games.
That's really good.
And I think is number one at most assists this season.
Yeah, 8.
I think it's 8.
And then he got 4 in one game.
Yeah. And Bale scoring the goal against Brighton as the winner. That was his 199th goal for club and country put together. So, do you think Jose Mourinho has found that form in Spurs now?
No, I don't think, to be honest, though, because I would have said yes if they wouldn't have had a bad game in Europa League. They lost 1-0. I think match day 2. They lost 1-0. So, I think their first team, the playing 11 is good. The only problem right now I think they have is, they still need a good defender. They still need a good central defender. Probably they are gonna go and get one in January or next season probably. I think how Jose Mourinho is doing, if you ask me, I think he's done a good job till now. Especially I see that change where I think I spoke about this last time as well, where Kane is sort of shifting back now, and playing that playmaker role sort of for Son and probably Lucas or Bale to go ahead. But there's no doubt in quality.
One thing that has not changed is he coming and still criticizing players in press conference. I love that part about it. Like, I love that part when he's not part of my club. So,
I think in a way he's criticizing the critics.
Yeah.
When he says, "Oh, you're not gonna ask me why don't I play these players anymore," just shut the fuck up. So it's that. So
I think, but then this Europa game they played well. They won 3-1, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's when Bale scored his 200th goal. Kane scored his 200th goal against the West Brom. West Brom has been that side. You don't know on that particular day, what will they do. But I still feel when we talk about Spurs and talking about the midfield, I think Højbjerg has the most passes in Premier League now.
I think he's one of those players who's not been talked about a lot, but he's been one of the best signings for this season. But yeah, again, because not one of the big boys or not coming from one of the big clubs, that always makes a difference. So it's going to take time, but I think he's been one of the best signings so far.
Do you know one thing that I'm really pissed about in Spurs? Reguilon is giving amazing assists.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking hate that. He was supposed to come to Man United. He's been that player who's giving assists from both his legs. I don't know how the fuck we missed him.
I mean, I think the only problem is they hang on for too long on players. But yeah, I mean, he's done well in Spurs. That has made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
If you see a couple of games that Bale assist or that Kane assist that he gave a couple of weeks back. Oh, he's been good. I think that's.
I think unfortunately Telles has COVID, so he was not picked for Man United. But if Relegón was in Man United, he would have definitely come to first side by default. He just makes the first side. Yep. So your call on this Spurs versus West Brom?
I think there's too much quality in Spurs. So I
unless
unless what happened with West Ham or Antwerp. But if you ask me, I think I'm gonna go with the Spurs for this one.
Yeah, me too. I think that let's ignore the unless part of it, and let's go with the obvious part that I think Spurs would easily win this game. Moving to the fifth game that we have, it's Leeds losing to Leicester. Leicester was just too much quality for them. 1-4 they lost to Leicester. Vardy being involved in probably all first three goals, scoring the third one himself, giving this amazing pass, unselfish pass as a striker, giving that pass, making that goal happen.
They have that attack, that it's difficult to ignore that attack. If you ask me, they play with three attacking midfielders. Too much for Leeds, I guess. They did probably Bielsa did not get his tactics right. There were a lot of mistakes as well. If you see, they lost the ball a couple of times. One of them leading to the goal, two of them leading to the goal, in fact. So I think there were mistakes from Leeds, but they were also pretty unlucky. Bamford missing that opportunity. He had a good header as well. So a good game for Leicester, a good win, I would say, against Leeds, which is, we all know it's always difficult. But
Leicester red hot form right now. They won in Europa as well. I think 4-0. And now they're playing against Wolves. That would be an interesting game to see.
That's definitely an interesting one. But Wolves again this season have been a little, to be honest, they have been a little on and off. I think, especially Jota moving sort of hindered their this thing. But again, there is Traore, there is Raul Jimenez, who you again cannot sort of ignore, and they are going to be there.
And also coming, I think they won against Crystal Palace 2-0. So coming from that win, and it will be an interesting game to see. Vardy again coming back in form. He's always in form. Exactly.
I've never seen him out of form.
Interesting talk with Brendan Rodgers and Pochettino post-match.
You see that hair, and you're like, oh, Poch, it's time to come back. So he knows that he's gonna face him probably going back again. Anyway,
so that'll be interesting. Let's see how this turns out. Your call on this, Leicester versus Wolves.
I think Leicester's gonna edge this one. I would go with the 3-2. I think it's gonna be a high-scoring game, but I'm gonna go with a 3-2 win for Leicester.
Yeah, I think 3-2. I would go 4-2 Leicester. I think Vardy might just score like a hat trick. Just a random day, a normal day for him. Just score a hat trick. Let's see that goes. Last game, Sheffield United versus Chelsea is gonna come up now. Chelsea in good form though. Hakim Ziyech scoring his first Premier League goal last game, I think. And but Sheffield United has a history with Chelsea.
I'm scared for this one, to be honest, and also Sheffield United need a win. They're at 1 point, I think, right now of 7 games, so they need a win. Looking at last season, I'm honestly a little worried about this one.
That's the best part they can have.
But I think Mendy is gonna be the savior again. So he's been amazing. 5 clean sheets in a row. He's gonna break a record if he keeps a clean sheet again. Thiago Silva, I think he's settling in well now with Zuma, especially with him, and Chilwell playing well. Reece James on the other side. He's he's playing well when you take someone is playing well when you take Azpilicueta's side. His position. So we know Reece James is playing well. Havertz unfortunately out for this one. he tested positive for COVID, but I think it's starting to coming together. I feel if you look
But
at
Pulisic again injured.
Pulisic again injured. I don't think he'll play this one, but he'll probably be back for the next game. He's been included in the international side, so we know he's probably gonna make it. After the international break. But I sort of feel that it's starting to coming together now. What we felt that disconnection, initially now, in a way everybody is happy. Abraham is playing. Again, Giroud being the substitute, so he gets to play. Werner playing on the wing. So I think, and Ziyech on the left wing. I think everybody is happy. Nobody's
Left out,
unhappy
yeah.
right now that they are left out, or whatever Mount is playing, Havertz is playing. So there's a good rotation that Lampard is keeping, so that everybody is sort of happy. We also saw Kante playing in that his original role. I was very happy to see that. But yeah, a little worried about this one. But I think Chelsea is gonna, it's gonna be a difficult game, definitely. But I think it's gonna be a 1-0 or a 2-0. I would say.
But let's talk about Chelsea. I think winning 3-0 against Burnley and then winning 3-0 against Rennes as well. Mendy's old side. Unfortunate red card though, right?
Very unfortunate. As a manager, and I think Lampard said that as well. It's very unfortunate when you get a second yellow for an unintentional handball. It was deflected twice, not even once. Yes, it was a penalty because his hands were up. There's no doubt about the penalty, but it was an unfortunate red card, and I think that is when Rennes sort of lost the game. They had a couple of good moments in the game, but it's difficult to play with 10 game more than half the game. So change in penalty taker.
That's
Werner is the official penalty taker now. And apparently Jorginho is happy about it.
Apparently.
That's what they say. He's not gonna come out and say, "Oh no," what I mean. So yeah, no, who doesn't want to score goals? Right?
Yeah.
So
and also if you see now, certain things in Chelsea are the good things at least are back to normal. I think Kante now, as you rightly spoke about him, and he right now has the most interception in Premier League. He's number one there. That's his role, and I think that was his role when he won Premier League both times. And I think Silva is becoming that pillar which you guys wanted. And I feel Chilwell coming in, this is my perception. Do you think Chilwell coming in is giving Zuma that aggression where he's going and scoring goals now?
I mean, of course, right. When you have a good defense, when I think the most important part of being a defender is you need to trust all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Your mates. So I think that is sort of building now. It's still going to take a bit of time. This is just the first season that they are playing together, but I think that is starting to coming together. There's good communication between the players with the goalkeeper, which is very important. So I think yeah, like you said, it's there is a good they are more confident going forward. They know there's a good backup behind. Kante always stays behind when there's a corner, so you can be more comfortable. You can be more confident.
And then utilizing his height and his physicality to score. I think it was a beautiful goal. It was like by the force that he scored that goal, the header that he took goal was fucking amazing.
I think the last thing I want to say is, if you don't know, Southampton is on top of the table right now.
Stop the count.
Stop the count. I think that's a cheeky move from them. Not just on the Premier League, but also the elections.
Being political in it. But it's I think though obviously things will change by end of today and tomorrow. But Southampton is playing really well. Again, kudos to Ward-Prowse. His goal.
And Dannings. I think Dannings is injured for 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to be a little.
Stop that count too. Unfortunate. I feel Dannings amazing striker though. But then let's see what turns out. With that, finishing this podcast. Thank you so much for joining, Karthik. See you next week. Bye guys.
Cheers.